Hey everyone, this is Scott from Legion Gaming and welcome to our second ever Minecraft tutorial. Today we're going to be making a automatic wheat farm like this one here. So basically when you press the lever, water will flood the wheat and then you can pick it up down here. Now I've had a lot of requests from our previous video which had this in, and people asked, can you show me how to do it? So I decided to make this video on how to do it. So let's get building. Okay, so the area we need is 7 blocks wide and 9 blocks deep. So if we just mark that out quickly. Okay, so that's our area marked out, and just for decoration I like to have wood blocks, entirely up to you what they are, but I think wood block suits an outdoor wheat farm, so put that around the perimeter. There we go. So that is now our wheat farm marked out. Now we're going to mark out where the actual wheat will be growing. So our wheat will actually be on that level, so we don't need to get rid of any of the dirt blocks there. However, I do like to have a walkway down the middle so that you can easily plant wheat either side without it being trampled on. So I like to have a wood pathway going down the middle, and here is where our water is going to flow to, so then it can drop in here and go underneath. Okay, so for our wheat to grow we need to get a hoe out and farm the earth blocks, and to turn darker, which is when the soil has been watered, it needs to have a water source next to it or 2 blocks away. So what I did was put a water supply under this side here and the other side, which runs right the way next to the soil blocks, so that it can turn it turns a brown colour. So if you just dig this up again, and then the water, if you pour at that end, will then run the entire length, and you'll see why later. Then you can cover that back over and then do the same the other side. Okay, and then put the water in, and then once again that runs the entire length, and cover that back up. Okay, so this is what we've got so far, and we want our water to drop down into here. However, we don't want the water to overflow and mix with the water that will then be along here. So a good way of doing that is getting a sign and putting the wooden sign at the place, the block where you don't want the water to go, and that will then stop it from flowing over the edge. So if you put signs along here, the water will then not flow over the edge, as you will see later. Okay, so now let's put the piston in. So I'll just show you how to put the piston in. Okay, so the reason I chose all these materials was because they were pretty easy to get in survival, because you need to be able to make something in survival without it being too difficult to get all the supplies. Now, out of all the things we're using for the wheat farm, I think the sticky piston is the only difficult one, because slimes are quite hard to find, to get the slime to put on the sticky piston to make it sticky. So, but they can be found deep underground in caves, so you can always go look in there. So our sticky piston will go in the middle here. And then if you get some glass blocks out, The reason I use glass is just because it's see-through, so it just, you can barely see it really, and so it just blends in. It doesn't look too bad because it's see-through really. Okay, so that's where we've got so far now, and just to add an extra touch to make it look slightly better, I got a wooden slab, and just put that around the edge, so it sort of makes a step up, just to add a bit of depth to the wheat farm really. And also it also allows, if I just show you in a second, yeah, slabs are good because here you can then put a step across without having to put a block down to block up the water supply, so that just helps to make it a complete step really. And this is where our lever will go. Okay, so now let's make the underground part for the water supply. So the water will then flow from here and it will spread to the sides and then spread to the bottom. However, the signs are there and will stop the water flowing over the edge, and then this means that we can have a water supply under here which will then lead out to a collecting point. So the water will drop off, it will then travel to, and then we want it to delete that block in the middle so that when we put water here it will then flow along to there. Okay, and now if we just dig down from here to find where it links up, there we go, and we want to go one block lower than that, so delete these blocks here, and then so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks deleted, and that should link up nicely. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'd always go one block further than that, so if we go to our 5th, there we are, and then if we just put water in to test at either side, you'll then see that they flow into the centre, and then that will then flow out of there and along, and that should, yep, we have water at the bottom here. So now if we just then put some steps in, I always like to have a slab at the bottom, and then we then get wooden stairs out and put our wooden stairs in. There we go. So we then have a nice staircase leading down, and then it's up to you whether you want to cover that up or not. I decided to have it uncovered, but it's entirely up to you, and I always like to go back under here and just tidy it up a bit, so you can obviously cover that block up, and then yeah, cover cover all those blocks up just to make it look that extra bit nicer. Okay, so that is now a fully functioning system that will take our wheat back. So now if we set up the redstone system, which will then activate the piston, which will stop water from dropping, so then when you turn it the other way, water will then drop and flood the place. So our lever will go here. Okay, an actual a better way of covering it up. That's just sort of a better way. Get another wooden slab and cover it up, and then we'll have another row. Slabs are also good because you can dig underneath them nice, because they're not a full block. You can go the block underneath them and it covers it up nicely. So we'll have our lever here, and then we can then have our redstone underneath this block here. So I'll just get rid of this for now, and I'd suggest going 2 blocks lower so that it doesn't interfere with any of the water going down the sides, and also makes it easier because you can just, so we will then make that. And then if we were to do it along this side, we have water under here, so the water would then flood the area, so you need to go 1 block outside and then round the edge. So just make sure the redstone runs along the length, and also remember to add a repeater in, otherwise the connection only lasts, I think it's around 16 or 12 or 16 redstone blocks, so there's got to be a repeater in there just to reinforce the connection to make it better. Okay, so I'm just going to put another repeater in. You don't need to, but just to make sure, really be safe with it. And then we'll lead it around the side here. And we're almost back at the piston now. Okay, so the piston is then there, so you can actually come up 1 block. Actually, I think that should do it. I'll just quickly have a test. Yep, so there is the fully working piston, and I'll just explain what I did there. As you can see, it's at the bottom of the piston there, so I went 1 block up, and then that block with the redstone on top then leads to the bottom of the piston, which is enough to activate it. It doesn't always need to be at the same level as the piston, it could be the level below, as I showed there. So yeah, that's all working fine. So we can, I would suggest that we were to put another row of wooden slabs along the back, because I'll just show you what happens if you were to put this block back. It would then cut off the connection. So to avoid cutting the connection, we could put another row of slabs, so then it doesn't cut the connection off, and then with the remaining earth blocks you can just cover up the rest, and eventually the grass will grow back on top. Okay, and now this can then be covered back up with the slabs, and there you have the redstone nicely covered up, and you couldn't tell that there was redstone there. Okay, so we can now put the water in the top, and as you can see there, the piston is turned on, so no water can get past, and then when we switch the piston off, water then flows to the sides and flows down, which would flush all the wheat out. And if you look closely at the water, it doesn't flow over the edges because we have these signs there. Yes, so all our wheat will then get pushed to the edges, and that will then flow off. That then leads into here, and it then gets pushed down, and we can pick it up there. So I'll just quickly show you how to get the wheat ready for harvest. So if you get a hoe of any kind out, so I'll just get a diamond one just because I can, and then we want to use our walkway that we created and then just right click on the blocks and it farms it nicely, so then wheat can then be planted. If we don't do this, then the wheat cannot be planted on there. And by doing this you will see a slight blue gap, and that's where the water that we planted was. And then if we then just wait, you will then see that some patches start to turn dark. This means that the soil has been saturated with water, and wheat plants can then grow on there. If you planted the seeds without them, after a certain amount of time they would then just break off because they don't have enough water to grow really. So we'll just wait for it to fully be saturated with water and then we can plant our wheat seeds. Okay, so the soil does take quite a long time to fully turn dark, but I decided to cut it short because for the sake of the video I couldn't be bothered to wait any longer. So now if we just get some seeds, which you can get through when you destroy that type of grass, as you can see over there, seeds will appear as you start to hit it and get rid of the seeds, and then once you've grown wheat and you've harvested it, they then make more seeds, so you can use that as a way of getting more seeds by harvesting some wheat and then getting more seeds. Okay, so now if we plant our wheat and use our walkway so that we don't trample, otherwise if we trampled on it where we've used the hoe to farm the land, it would then become unfarmed, and if you're growing wheat on it, you would then lose the wheat plant. And the water when it comes down does spread to the side, so even though these ones look as if they won't get harvested, they will. Okay, so the final touches that I would add would be some torches just to make it look a bit better, and also I don't know whether it's sufficient light to grow at night time, but it may be able to, so I added them in anyway. So I just placed one in each corner and then done it every 2 blocks. Now light does help the growth when you're growing inside, because you can put wheat farms inside, but you have to put a sufficient amount of torches to get enough light to grow. I don't know whether these lights would help it at night like I said before, but I put them there anyway just in case, and it also makes it look a bit nicer. So that is now our wheat farm complete, and we will come back when the wheat is fully grown and I'll just give you a quick show of what it looks like when it fully works in action. So I'll see you when it's fully grown. Okay, welcome back. The wheat is now grown, so let's have a test to see what it looks like. So when I push the lever, it floods the whole thing, and then the wheat then flows to the edges as you see, and then that flows into the water, which then goes underneath, and then it disappears under through our underground walkway. And then if I go to the pickup point, there is our wheat. So I'll just give it a couple of seconds to catch up. Okay, so I will now go and pick it up. And there we have 24 wheat and 36 seeds, so you can then just repeat the process, and the soil stays farmed, so you can just plant your seeds again and repeat the process. So that is the end of our automatic wheat farm tutorial. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to Legion Gaming, and in the comment section leave any more ideas that you would like to see.